Welcome back to another season of your favorite podcast. I'm Hibba, your host and resident hater. It's a new year, but I'm the same old gal. I'll still deliver juicy, spicy HR content and very real conversations. And yes, this season is no exception. I kind of went a little big with the theme this time, but it's actually just one simple word: new. New beginnings, new ideas, new themes, new skills, all the new you've been dreaming of without the annoying corporate fluff or trend chasing nonsense. This season, I want to talk about what actually needs to be new in the way we work, lead, and grow our careers, and even design HR, because the old way isn't really cutting it anymore. So let's get into it. Joining me today is my good friend and local hangout partner, Cassandra Babilya. Cassandra Babilya is a mom, author, and creator of Make Work Suck Less, a former Fed who walked away from a career at the CIA and now helps other burned out professionals rewrite their own career pivot success stories. Cassandra, welcome.
Yay!
Was that corny?
Thanks for having me. No, that was great.
I was so corny. That was probably the corniest you've ever seen me, honestly. Like, that was a lot of energy. I came in hot.
That was brilliant. I was watching you do the intro, like, tell me more. I'm into it.
Obviously, I had to have you on this podcast because I really want to talk about careers and what careers even mean in 2026. I don't know. I'm coming off of that weird 2 weeks between Christmas and New Year's where I opened my computer today and I was like, what am I even doing with my life? And we will get to all of that in a second. But before we do, I brought back my question of the season where I like to ask every guest a question. And this one's kind of fun and not even HR related, but I have to know, what is something new you want to learn this year?
Yeah, so I am a communications professional by trade. And so this year I'm looking forward to taking an advanced crisis communications certification from PRSA. Crisis comms is like, how do you communicate through something going awry with your company, internally and externally? And that's just a part of the role that I haven't gotten to touch on the external side. And so I'm looking forward to it.
So you'll be Olivia Pope then?
I mean, God, I wish I were as cool as Olivia Pope, but yes.
I couldn't help it. That was the first thing I thought of when I thought of crisis comms. That's so cool. Honestly, I can't wait to read what you learn. I'm sure you will have a lot to tell me in our next future local hang. I love that you're nearby and I get to meet up with you for coffee and bagels whenever I want. I feel so lucky.
It is the best. Yes.
Now, on to today's, drum roll please, today's conversation. I'm really you could tell I've been off for 2 weeks because my energy is
Did you remember your password when you logged in today?
I did. I actually wasn't off for 2 weeks. I was only off the Christmas week, but last week was so chill and quiet that I got to do a lot of work and it was quiet and nice and no one was slacking me and it kind of felt like heaven. I'm coming off of these 2 weeks, like I said earlier, where I opened my computer and I was like, what am I even doing here? Amidst texting you about having a podcast episode about careers, because I feel like my whole life I built up my career as this really big thing I wanted, probably similarly in the way that a lot of women, young girls maybe build up their wedding. That was my career was the equivalent for me. Or I had all these massive dreams about who I was going to be in a corner office and running the world. And I just think, I don't know, it feels different lately. And so I kind of want to talk to you about that in this episode, why it feels like traditional career ladders are kind of broken and people seem to be rejecting that too. You made a massive career pivot. How did you think about that?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this idea that careers are dead. You've seen it, the LinkedIn posts, the articles. There's actually a book that was written in the 80s about, is the career dead? And thinking about how we actually define a modern career. You said ladder, right? And you said a lot of what you said was thinking about what you wanted to be when you grow up. So there's a lot of identity and progression and stability. And that's where I think that we've dropped off the cliff in 2025, 2026 for the traditional career. A traditional career implies some level of stability and loyalty and progression that you can predict and work towards and understand. And that's gone. That's gone with the pension. That's gone with the 1.17 million layoffs in the US in 2025.
Yeah, I don't think anyone I know talks about their career anymore as a stable thing. Like it used to be
Right.
like be an engineer, like that's the most job
Yeah.
security you could possibly have. Now we have founders out there vibe coding completely new apps saying they'll never need an engineer ever again. I mean, I don't know if they're saying that. Sorry, that was like an anecdotal reference. Don't quote me on that, everyone. But that is kind of what it feels like. Like I don't think I would use the word stable to describe any career right now. Doctors, nurses, we always need them, but even they're going through it.
Oh yeah. They used to say, get a job with the government. You'll always have a job if you get a job with the government. That's a lifelong career civil servant. Until 180,000 federal workers lost their jobs in 2025. This idea of stability is it's gone. It's lost to us. And what do we have now? How are people defining getting paid for their productivity? And it's like you and I have had careers you've had a career in HR, a series of positions that you've held with progressively more scope and responsibility, title, better pay. Similarly, I've had a career, and there's some through line. I did a huge pivot back in 2016 from the CIA to comms, yes. But you and I are also part of this portfolio career of the future. The future is now. This portfolio framework where it's diverse sets of incomes that meet our basic needs, yes, but also meet like the lifestyles that we want to have, the flexibility we need for families. And how do we think about that? Because we're doing both. I know you and I are doing both, where we have the portfolio, we also have like the traditional ladder.
Yeah, I mean, it's why like the concept of a side hustle, somebody was like, "Oh, I never want my employees to have a side hustle." And I'm like, "Well, why not?" Like it first of all, it probably makes them more engaged at work, honestly, to know that they are not dependent on this one job for everything. But I also think the other piece of it is like the cost of living in the world has not caught up with average salaries. And so a lot of people are seeking additional employment to even cover the basic cost of living. And so I think even that piece of it has also made us rethink like, what is this career even? Like, if it's not giving me stability, it's not paying me enough to cover my basic goods, it's not teaching me anything new, then what is it actually then?
And yeah. And it's this tension between what we need in order to live. So our basic economic necessities and the identity defining work that we want to do that gives us meaning and fulfillment in life. And where are we getting that from? Is it that you can't get both from one career path anymore?
I mean, so we're the season and the theme is new. And I think the way we have to look at career, the idea of a career or a career path, I think we need to dramatically re-examine that in the world and even honestly within ourselves. Like I've been talking to a lot of like elder millennial women who are just having this conversation ongoing. They're not getting the sense of fulfillment anymore from their work. They're feeling like they're not compensated enough for their work. They don't have the flexibility or the autonomy they desire within their work. We saw women leave work in 2025 more than they left when the pandemic was happening. Like the modern workplace does not seem to be built for many of us. And so I'm thinking about this and if you were to define kind of what the modern career actually optimizes for, do you think it's for things like money, meaning, maybe momentum, or even options? Like what do you think a modern career is actually going to optimize for?
When I think of the modern career, when I think about this idea that the traditional career path is dead, I tend to go back and think about, well, who was it working for in the first place? Who was it built for in the first place? It certainly was not women. It certainly was not moms. And when we think about when we think about the emergence of side hustle culture, the portfolio of income sources that we need in order to meet our basic needs, whether they be emotional, identity, or economic, that type of work where you have multiple income sources to make ends meet, that's not new. It's just made its way into white collar work. It's made its way to corporate America. And so now we're trying to redefine it and glamorize it and make it seem polished. But holding down 2-3 jobs to meet your needs, it's always been part of the conversation. So who does the traditional career work for, and how much of it got to be about identity and about fulfillment and about purpose has always been defined by your class, your gender, your race. So what do we want the future career to optimize for? Right now, it feels like we need to optimize for our basic necessities because it feels like we're in a time of upheaval, and we just got to meet the basic needs right now. We are not in a renaissance.
Yeah, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Those basic foundational needs are like the ones we have to meet to like even exist and feel all the other things in the triangle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally drawing a triangle with my hands right now. This is so funny. It is such an interesting conversation to have, like as HR people too, because we're thinking through, the thing that employees come to us a lot for is like, what's my growth? What's my path? What's my next title? What's this, my compensation? And I think we have wound up, sorry, I hit my own mic because I got so excited with my own hands. I think we have wound up this idea of careers, titles, performance, compensation. They're also intertwined, that we need to do the work of kind of unwinding some of that, because the narrative around growth also, I think, has to change. It used to be when we talked about careers, we did talk in that ladder. We did say, okay, you're a manager, you'll be a senior manager next. Once you're a senior manager, you'll be a director. Once you're a director, you'll be a senior director. Like we had these very strict paths. And I just think that we have found that that's not the case anymore. And especially as we're thinking about how AI is going to disrupt work, it's going to change how we perceive our careers as individuals, right? But it's also going to dramatically reshape how HR talks about careers internally. And I think that strife is something I'm feeling, that friction I'm feeling so real every day. Is like I myself am experiencing this disconnect from my own career path, thinking like, what is my life and my career? And then simultaneously, I have employees coming to me saying like, well, I want a promotion. Well, I want a raise. Well, I want this. Well, I want that. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's the next best step for you. Like the next best step could look like a side step, but it actually is a step up, it's making it very messy. And I'm trying to figure it out internally. And it's tough because I don't know if we're talking about it enough as HR people either, that we're feeling this like very real pressure to be the career magicians, for lack of a better way of describing it, like the architects of everyone's career. And I'm like, I can't architect your career because I actually don't know what comes next. That was my little rant. Sorry.
You mentioned AI and the AI revolution, the AI renaissance. I don't know, what were we calling it? But it's very similar to the Industrial Revolution, which fundamentally changed the way we lived and worked, right? Here's the thing: the modern workforce, modern workplace, the traditional career was built around the Industrial Revolution. It was built around the 40-hour work week, where time butts in seats or butts at plant equaled a specific amount of productivity, specific output, right? And it also assumed that there was a stay-at-home mom at home doing unpaid labor, raising kids, keeping house, doing all of the life administrivia. But that doesn't exist anymore. We're still stuck in the Industrial Revolution from a systems and infrastructure perspective, and we're now moving on to the AI future of AI, where jobs are disappearing. The software developers who just graduated from college this past year, they're graduating into a market where there are no entry-level software development jobs because they have been replaced by AI. Things are changing so quickly. And to your point, I'm thinking, well, how does professional development work now? How does succession planning work? It's not even just thinking like, our parents, they graduated high school or college, they started working at a company at an entry-level role, they worked their way up to a senior role. You could track someone's career progression as a personnel manager, as an HR person. You could track someone as they moved up the ladder. In the last 20 years or so, you could track someone's career even if they were moving between organizations, moving between companies. They were still kind of doing the same type of work. Now people are making hard pivots every 2 to 3 years. How are you thinking about managing that from an HR perspective?
Flip it back on me. I love this because I was going to ask you, like, what skills do you think matter more than job titles when roles keep changing? I was literally about to ask you that. So, I mean, for me, people making pivots, like, I think it's beautiful. And I think it should be celebrated. I think a lot of times in the past, especially, we penalized people or would say things like, but they don't have the experience to do this job, or they don't want they don't want to take this title after they've already been an SVP. Like, they don't want this other job. And I really wish we'd stop doing that. We'd stop putting people in boxes, because I think there are so many skills that are so transferable. Like, you can't tell me that a recruiter wouldn't also potentially be good in a marketing role or a sales role, because that is the core of what they are doing. They are marketing and selling a company. Now tell me that they wouldn't be able to hold a quota and be a sales role. Now, if they want to do that is a different question. But I think there are so many transferable skills, similar to like how I think about HR. Like, if I wasn't in HR, what else could I do? I think I could be a COO. I think there are other jobs around strategy that I think HR people could do. I think a pivot into comms would be an interesting thing as an HR person. We think about constantly how we're communicating with people left and right. I'll come to the dark
side.
Join
me.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I feel like I would be, if I tried to convince you to come to HR, I'd be like, come to the dark side. Like, I should go to the light side by going with you. But I think like there are so many skills within HR for HR people to transition out of. So I think like if that's the case, then we should be looking at our talent and thinking like, what else could they possibly do in the organization? And so like, if we're looking at skills, like having somebody who is a strong communicator, who can talk about things like data, I think like understand data and try to make informed decisions around the data. I think people who can handle change really well, or change management in itself, is a skill set that a lot of people lack. But then if you have people in your org who are exceptional at that, that is a role that I think you could possibly put into every single department. And call me crazy, call me whatever you want. I think we can all learn anything we want to learn. Like, if I decided I wanted to be a software engineer tomorrow,
is a skill everybody needs.
Oh my God!
Sorry.
Don't even get me started.
I jumped on you there, but
I think
that might be one of the. There we go. I think that might be one of those skills that are necessary for the future, because we don't know what the next big tech innovation that's coming down the line is going to disrupt entire industries and entire professions. So you have to stay curious.
Also, just a point on critical and analytical thinking, because it feels like we've lost the art of critical and analytical thinking. And I would just like to say, like, it might not come naturally for people to think critically or analytically about the things in front of them. Like, okay, I will just admit, like, I grew up in a household where my father was a professor, and he wanted us to fight all of our ideas, like basically support all of our ideas. We would have debates as a family. And you could see the critical thinking working within my siblings, within my parents, within me, as we were trying to debate each other on certain ideas. And then I went to school and college and really learned to think critically about things and to analyze what it is that's in front of me. I was a poli-sci, or like a government major, where I had to look at real things that were happening in the world through a critical lens and describe why they were happening and how they came to be. And I think I carried that curiosity, yes, but that critical and analytical thinking. Like, I am somebody who, like, you go outside and you're like, the sky is blue. I'm like, yes, the sky is blue, but like, could it also be a different color? Like, every single idea you encounter, it's worth asking yourself, like, where did that idea come from? How did it come to be? Do I believe in it? Is that the right path? And I think when you're looking at people in the business world, that critical and analytical thinking becomes like a game changer skill that I'm not sure we're seeing so many people actually display, because AI is making us all kind of dumb. Like, that's a real stat. Like, they're saying it's making us dumber. Like, kids in college can't write analytically or write. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, we need that skill in the workplace as well. We have to ask ourselves, like, is this idea true? Where did I get that data? How is that data going to inform my strategy? Like, that art seems to be missing sometimes.
Oh, not sometimes. I'm in 100% agreement with you that that's missing quite frequently. And it's hard to teach. It's hard to teach adults. It really is. It starts with, I think it starts with kids, and it starts at home. I mean, we didn't have like Harvard level debates in my home, but it was very much, everything was a teaching opportunity. Every book read was talked about. The news was discussed.
I deeply remember my dad sitting me down during like the hanging Chad election. Was that Bush Gore? I can't remember. It was Bush Gore, right? The hanging Chad election. My dad was like, "Do you know what a hanging Chad is?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know what a hanging." And he like made me watch TV with him as he like discussed it. And I mean, like, I read a lot. Like, I think the literacy crisis in this country genuinely terrifies me, because reading has taught me how to examine the world through the eyes of others. It's taught me to have empathy for experiences. It's taught me to want more than just the normal path I'm on. And I worry that like people aren't reading, they're not thinking critically, they're not thinking analytically, they can't communicate well, they don't know how to handle change management. And I'm like looking at our workplaces and I'm like, people should have like the start of that skill. But then do you think that we should also be responsible for teaching them that too? Like, do you think we as HR should be responsible for that? Loaded question. I'm sorry.
You as HR, no. I do think that people managers, as part of their development, I'm always gonna help you put it back on the people managers to force multiply HR professionals, because y'all can't do everything. But when you recognize that there's a critical thinking, analytical thinking, strategy building gap on your team, that you should devote professional development dollars towards addressing it. And giving people exposure. But like, I don't know if we're going to solve the stupidity crisis on this call, Hiba.
What do you mean you don't think we're going to solve it on this podcast episode? We're going to solve all the world's problems on this podcast episode. I'm kidding. No, but you did bring it back to like a really good point, as I was thinking about like how I have managed teams. Like, when managers come to me and they're like, so-and-so wants a promotion, my first question is always like, why? Like, just tell me why they want a promotion. Is it that they want access to new projects? Is it that they want to learn a new skill? Is it that they felt like they have mastered a skill and now they're saying, I want a reward for showing you this skill? Or is it that they like want compensation? There's no wrong answers in this, by the way. But I'm always curious when people come to me and say, so-and-so wants a promotion, because I'm like, I need to understand why. Because I think if we as HR can help people managers and leaders reframe the conversation away from this idea that the career ladder is something you just quietly climb like one level at a time, and instead can reshape the conversation around what skills are you trying to learn. Like, I love competencies and competency-based learning, because I think there's this capacity to say like, it's so great that you want a promotion. Let's actually talk about why. And by the way, the answer could be money, and that's okay, because we have set up the structure that way for so long. Like, people were told like, you can make more money if you move up to the next level. And most oftenly people were pushed into management because we didn't do a good enough job at developing this IC track. But I really think that we're in the era of new. Those IC tracks, those new career paths, those should be where we're focusing, not pushing people to be managers.
I 100% agree with you. And also recognizing when you can't or won't develop someone and meet their professional goals, these days they are much more likely to leave, find a different opportunity than sit and stew for 30 years like our grandparents did.
Yeah, careers, tenures are so wild to me right now. Because so when I first started working at Workweek, the CEO, Adam, was like, I want to build a company where people want to work here for 10 years. And I was like, sir, nobody wants to work anywhere for 10 years. On average, they want to work places for 2 years before they leave and go get a better job and more money. And we actually just had our all hands where every year at the beginning of the year, he like writes an annual letter kind of explaining where we are as a company and where we're trying to go. And in his annual letter, he actually called out people who had just hit their 4-year and 3-year milestone. And I've hit my 3-year milestone back in July. So that was like very exciting for me. And it was a really interesting moment for me to pause and reflect on that. Because I think like I have just been so conditioned to everyone leaving every 2 years. Like when people come up on that 2-year mark, I'm like, ooh, they're getting the itch. They're probably going to leave. Like, what does that look like? And I think part of that is because potentially companies haven't done a good job at building environments where people can actually see their careers grow, where they can actually find new skills to learn and leverage. And I don't know. I had this moment with myself because I was like, is this just me being an elder millennial? Like, am I showing my elder millennial roots right now by being like, everyone's going to leave every 2 years, right? And that's like the only way you get growth. And I was thinking about that because like, don't you think we should be giving different advice to early career people now? Because I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yes, we should be giving different advice. I think about my kids. My kids are at the tail end of Gen Alpha. What is the workforce going to look like in 15, 20 years when they enter the workplace? It's funny. I put out a poll on LinkedIn today asking my fellow millennial parents, like, are y'all still telling your kids that they can be anything they want to be? Because that feels like a lie. What advice are we giving them? What are we sending them off into the world? We need to send them off into the world with a better knowledge of what careers can look like and how they have agency in driving them.
I am dead at the, are you still telling them the lie that they can be anything they want to be? Because like, yeah, I absolutely did believe I could be anything I want to be. I cycled through like lawyer, doctor, engineer, astronaut, teacher, Mariah Carey for a minute. Not Mariah Carey herself, but a singer like Mariah Carey. I don't know. I can't sing, so I don't know. That was a real sad point for me. Jedi. I think I remember as a kid, I told my mom like very early on after I'd watched the Star Wars movies, I was like, I'm going to be a Jedi. And my mom was like,
oh, sweetie pie, honey.
Don't think about that one. Like a writer. Writer was the earliest career, another early career I told my parents I wanted to have. And I mean, I am a writer now, I guess, if you count publishing a newsletter 3 times a week. Definitely a writer. But I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, what are you telling your children? Because I asked my nephews, I was like, hey, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And they both said YouTubers. And I was like,
okay.
Can you pick another career? I was like, how about like video game designer or something else? And they were like, no, YouTubers. And I was like, oh no, I need to sit these children down and like have a real conversation about careers. But again, maybe I'm just showing my old ass millennial self, like what kind of conversations are you having when you're thinking about your kids, or even when you're talking to like early career people around their future careers?
You know, I look at my kids and I look at my kids like I'd look at my team, like assessing the skills, their strengths, and their opportunities and their gaps. And like, okay, can we help you develop in areas that you seem to have a natural aptitude, and like help you understand what the possibilities, the realistic possibilities are. But like, yeah, today's YouTube generation of I want to be a YouTuber is like, I want to be in the NFL. Like, and you're not making it to the NFL. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make $1 million on YouTube because it's going to be oversaturated. It's like only, the pointy tip of the spear makes it to the NFL and makes it big on YouTube.
The YouTube to NFL analogy is so good because I knew so many kids in elementary school, middle school that wanted to be in the NFL or the NBA. And yeah, you're right. That is the equivalent to YouTube now, because that's not gonna happen. But I mean, it is really interesting that, first of all, I was dying laughing at you describing your children like your team. Like, I'm looking at their skills. I'm like, oh God. I'm waiting for you to be like, I did my kids' performance reviews, Hiba. Guess what? They didn't meet expectations.
I did give my kids a performance review last year. Thank you, Hiba. Rosie needs improvement because she did not sleep as an infant.
I am dead. I'm going to need to see like a fake formal write-up for your child. I'm like, needs to sleep through the night so I can sleep through the night. Like, too real.
She has improved. I will say she took well to her performance improvement plan, and 2025 was much better.
I'm so happy she's doing well now. She's maybe this year she'll meet expectations.
Yeah, meets.
Meets. I mean, the careers are so fascinating to me. Like, whatever your kids end up doing, my nephews end up doing, the next generation ends up doing, how they redefine them. I think it'll just be such an interesting time in the next few years. I say this a lot, but like, I really do feel like maybe we're existing at one of the most revolutionary periods of work outside of the Industrial Revolution, because we're navigating so many real things at work, while also our generation coming to terms with, maybe I was promised something that couldn't be, or taught to expect something that can't be delivered.
I was told that I could be president.
I mean, you could.
Ma'am.
I mean, you could. Like,
Ma'am.
I could too. No, you would have had
this country is clearly not ready to be electing any brown women as presidents. Not yet.
Oh, man. Too bad. I would have such a fun presidency. My presidency would be so fun. It would be no wars. It would be people getting universal basic income. They would never elect me. They would be like, she cannot be elected in this country. She is too revolutionary. But it would be fun. Okay. We would be having fun again. And I just feel like I've not been having fun lately, but here we are. Back to careers. Maybe I would, careers are, I don't know, this idea of new, like, I really came into the new year with a fresh outlook. I don't really make New Year's resolutions. I don't know why. Probably because I kept making them and then I kept failing because I would make too many. Yeah. And so my new thing this year is just like a little thing every day. Every day I'm going to do one little thing that I said I like maybe wanted to make it into a bigger goal, but like, I'm not going to I don't want to get overwhelmed by my own goals. But when I was thinking about all the new things that we might be rethinking as HR, I'm really looking at like the skills gap. Like, we're going to have to reskill so many people because of AI. I'm looking at AI. It's not going anywhere. Like, it's really not. And I don't know what else is going to possibly be done with it. And then I'm looking at the idea that like we might create new jobs and new companies that we never could have ever thought of in the next 5 to 10 years potentially. And so that means like, I think we have to like dramatically rethink everything, but especially this career, because I think people are deriving more value now from their personal selves than they are from their careers. Like, I don't know when that changed.
I'm curious what you think about. I'm curious what you think about how we will go forward in defining success with the new version of a career. How do we define professional success?
It's so interesting because I told myself like I would be successful when I reached the C-suite. And then I got to the C-suite and I was like, oh my. Okay. She's learning a lot. It was such a silly, for me personally, I will not speak on anyone else, but for me personally, I think it was a very silly and naive definition of success for myself. And now when I think of success, I think mostly, am I showing up at work in a way that I am proud of? Am I showing up as myself as much as I possibly can. I'm not going to preach that bring your whole self to work, because we know most workplaces aren't safe enough for people to do that. But I have the privilege of being in a workplace that does more often than not let me be myself. And I have a lot of fun at work. And so lately, my definition of success isn't being the smartest and brightest in the room, my idea, having the loudest voice. It's really about showing up in the way that I am proud of how I show up and that I'm having fun. Life is too short to not have fun at work. And granted, so many people tested my patience today already. First day back in the office. And, a lot of people are testing my patience. But I'm having fun at work. I get to have these conversations. I get to, I don't know, chit chat with my direct report and giggle about the funny things we want to giggle about. So I just think maybe that's my definition of success. And that has nothing to do with skills I've learned, titles I've achieved, accolades I've gotten. I don't think that the future definition of success will be so title focused for a lot of people. Now, there are some people who are listening to this who will think, I still want that title. I still want that base comp. I still want this. Those are fine. Would never tell you that those are not fine. For me at this moment in my life, it's just not how I would define success. What about you?
I was just thinking about it. Yeah, all the things that my parents told me to fight for. You need to get good grades in school so that you can get into a good college, and you need to get the scholarship, which I did, and then you need to get the great degree, which I did, and then you need to, get into the most, prestigious organization. I did the things, and all the things that I fought for don't matter a single whit to me anymore. Not even. My definition of success professionally is that, can I provide for my family? And do I have a role that is flexible enough that I get to spend quality time with them? And do I get to do work that aligns with my values?
So then at so many organizations, I feel like we're doing career theatrics where we're like, come here, your career will grow. You're going to move the career. If you and I are both saying, and I'm not saying you and I are the majority, but let's say that everyone listening to this and you and I are like, yeah, we're not thinking career the way it is. Why are we still play acting this idea of everyone is motivated and inspired by the next title and the next promotion? Should we be rethinking all of that as well?
Are we play acting though? I think that the systems that HR tends to use do rely on this linear progression. I think everything else is migrating its way towards this future definition of work being a portfolio where success is no longer defined by creed and title. How do the systems need to change?
A lot of our HR tech is built by people who have never done HR. So we're trapped in this linear way of thinking because the systems were designed that way.
Everything from the onboarding to who gets promotions. Yeah, you're right. It's all designed for a traditional ladder.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We're living in the future of this AI revolution, and all the systems are still built for the age of Ford.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's first of all, that idea was really what inspired this season of the podcast, the new way of thinking about things. I want to have more of these conversations throughout the season because I think there's so much that we can possibly rethink about how we do work to actually better suit the people we are serving. We forget at the end of the day that there are employees on the other side of this. Sometimes I think we forget there are employees on the other side of this who feel like we are missing the mark. And I don't want to be somebody who is putting forth work that constantly feels like it's missing a mark because I can't create the work outside of the system constraints I'm currently facing. Mm-hmm. But then I have to exist somewhere that lets me rethink the system and how many of us actually get to build from scratch.
Yeah. So the search for meaning and creating your own system that works for you, works for your family, the search for finding that stability again. So if I start my own thing, they can't lay me off. I can't get furloughed. I can't get demoted. But the irony is that it's like the least stable thing you can do is try to build your own thing, standing alone on an island, building a business, and expecting stability in the short term, even in the longer term, is bananas. So it's like you have to be like 2 feet in. I got 2 feet in, trying to do both, trying to make work suck less, creating new systems, and working within the system that I have been invited to and choose to stay temporarily.
Been invited, but I'm like, can I not? Like a club you never want to be a part of. You're just like, can I not? Can I not? For people listening and who are thinking like this inspired something in them, either about their own personal career or how they think of career paths for their employees, where do you think they can even get started in really thinking about what this means for themselves, but potentially what this means for their organization, that our worldview of the idea of careers needs to be dramatically reshaped?
Well, I think I'll start with, if you're in a position where you can influence systems in an organization, take a look at how the systems treat non-traditional career paths. And I'm speaking on behalf of the federal workforce, or the former federal workforce now in particular, who have the hardest career pivot to make in transitioning from a government job to a corporate job, where the language used does not make sense in the corporate world. The job hunt itself, the application process, the interview process is all foreign. Onboarding feels weird, like you're just like thrown in with the wolves and told to sink or swim. How are your systems designed to, or how can they be designed better to consider the experiences, the true skills and experiences that someone can bring to your organization? And then how are you supporting them once they're there? I would say, when I think about the individual, I know that folks always, they have a tendency to say, I need to change, I want to pivot to XYZ. How do I get started? And they dive right into like tactical execution. I always caution a pause and a reflection. Hippo, back to your point. Why do they want that promotion? Tell me about that thing you think you want, how that aligns with your future goals. How does that align with your values? How does that align with the skills that you love using but have never gotten to use before? And see if there maybe are other potential avenues for you.
I love that. Like there's so much I was thinking about as you were saying that, because it's just like such an interesting time and kind of overwhelming to think that like maybe we have to re-architect this concept of a career, when one of the biggest things companies say they offer is like growth. You remember when like it was like maybe
Mm-hmm.
peak 2020, where like every single company was like, you can grow here. It's like overwhelming to think about, what does that actually mean in this new reality we're all in, and how can I make that happen? It's just, it can feel really overwhelming. So like that was another thing I was kind of worried about this season, is like, I don't want to overwhelm people with like too much, because our job is already massive enough. But I think like really thinking outside the box of these ideas of careers, of really thinking about, okay, if this person is here in the organization, like where else could they possibly also fit specifically in my
Yeah.
organization, is a powerful exercise. Like once a quarter, once a year, you should be looking at your talent. Like succession planning should look different in this world. Like we didn't even touch on succession planning. Like we just talked about careers, but succession planning is something, first of all, I don't really know any HR person that does it well. If you're an HR person listening to this, and to be clear, it's not that you don't know how to do it. It's that the system or the people or everyone involved overcomplicate everything. If you have a really good succession plan down, please DM me. I must know. I need help. Like, send a DM this way because I also need to know. But I think it's just such a fascinating challenge we'll have ahead of us. And I go back to the curiosity thing that you brought up, Cassandra, that like, we really just need to be more curious about what people want and why. And that could unlock so much for us as HR. And even us personally. I don't know. Now I'm just waxing poetic. Okay. I ask people, and I said I would stop this, but I'm probably never going to stop this because now it's become a bit of this podcast. How can someone get in touch with you if they want to talk to you more?
Oh, this is where I tell your audience that they can find me on LinkedIn.
This is a bit. This is now actually becoming a bit. Welcome, everybody. This is one of the bits now. On LinkedIn, you say that's where you are?
That is where I spend the majority of my time. Yes. I mean, I guess if you want to find me outside of LinkedIn, you could find me on my website.
That too. We could Google you.
Feel free to Google me.
I really said I was going to stop asking this question, but now, honestly, this just brings me so much joy to have every single person on LinkedIn. Maybe someday the answer to that will actually not be LinkedIn. It'll be safe space. You can find me in safe space. You can join 10,000. I just checked the number today, 10,000 HR professionals in safe space who are having conversations like this every day. Cassandra, you're there. We can talk to you anywhere. I can talk to you anywhere, actually. Text you, call you, Instagram, DM you, LinkedIn. Sorry, everybody. I have access to her on a lot of social media.
Yeah. Also, the conversations, they follow linearly at the same time. Yeah. And depending on the social media channel that the conversation is happening in.
It's really bad. I don't know if anybody else is guilty of this, and this will be the last thought before I leave you all at the end of this episode. But sometimes I start a conversation on Instagram. I take it over to text. Then I go to Twitter. Then I find I'm actually, to be clear, I don't DM anyone on Twitter. I am just there lurking for pop culture news. I hate that app. Then I'll go into my Slack personal where some of my friends are. Then I'll go over to Facebook. Yes, I still use Facebook. I get really good book recommendations on Facebook. Don't ask any questions. I will not divulge any of my secrets. To then I'm over here doing something else. To then I find a TikTok that I have to send you. So, if anyone else is guilty of that, know that you are not alone. Cassandra, as always, thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge, your perspective, your very unique and relevant perspective as somebody who's made a massive career shift and just inspiring me to think differently about the problems ahead of us. I really deeply appreciate you.
Thanks, Hibba.